All right, so for today's deep dive, we are tackling a story that I think a lot of us know, but maybe not in this level of detail. We're tracing the complete history of a revolution.
Exactly. We're getting into the sources behind the rise and, more importantly, the fall of the Animal Farm Republic. For anyone who isn't familiar with the text, it's this masterful allegory of political decay.
Right. And our mission here is to really analyze how these incredibly idealistic principles, things like freedom, equality, dignity, how they were systematically warped.
Weaponized, even.
Yeah.
They were used to create an oligarchy that was, frankly, far more brutal and efficient than the one they overthrew. We're going to follow that exact trajectory, which is just meticulously documented in the source material.
Okay, so let's set the stage. We have to start where it all begins, in this place of just deep misery, the Manor Farm.
Yes, under Mr. Jones.
Yeah.
And the sources paint a really stark picture of life under his rule, or maybe more accurately, his neglect.
Right.
I mean, this initial state is just so critical to understanding the motivation for everything that comes later. The animals' lives were defined by relentless labor, hardship, and they were short.
Brutally short.
Brutally short. They were given just enough food to keep them working, forced to labor until they were completely spent, and then, and the sources are very clear on this, slaughtered with hideous cruelty the second their usefulness was over.
And it wasn't even, a well-run tyranny. Jones himself was just a negligent master. He'd lost money in a lawsuit, started drinking heavily.
Exactly. So he was often too drunk to even feed them properly. And this kind of raw misery, this neglect, it creates the perfect fertile ground for what comes next.
The catalyst.
Precisely. The system was failing, and that opened the door for ideology. Which brings us to Old Major, the prize middle white boar. He gathers everyone to tell them about this strange, powerful dream he had.
But first, he lays out a coherent political thesis. And his message is so pure, so radical, and incredibly unifying in its simplicity.
Man is the only enemy.
That's it.
That's the core of it. He details exactly why. Man consumes without producing. He doesn't give milk. He doesn't lay eggs. He can't pull a plow.
He can't even run fast enough to catch rabbits.
Exactly. Yet, man is the lord of all the animals, and he just steals the produce of their labor. Old Major lays out the calculation, and it's stark. If you get rid of man, the quality of life for every animal would skyrocket.
The promise is a life of comfort, dignity, freedom, and just food in abundance.
And the solution he proposes is, of course, rebellion. But what's so interesting is that he doesn't just offer this abstract dream. He lays down the foundational rules, the absolute laws the revolution has to uphold to succeed.
These are basically the core tenets of what will become animalism, right, before the state even exists.
Yes, and they're crucial because they define what the revolution is not supposed to become. It's simple. Whatever goes on two legs is an enemy.
Whatever goes on four legs or has wings is friend.
Right. And the rules against resembling man are absolute. No animal must live in a house, sleep in a bed, drink alcohol, wear clothes.
Or engage in trade. And the big one? The ethical foundation for everything.
All animals are equal.
It's the perfect manifesto for a collective. But, idealism alone rarely drives mass action, does it?
No, it doesn't. What really sealed the deal, what united everyone from horses to hens, was the song he taught them.
Beasts of England.
An incredible tool for emotional unification. The sources say the tune was sort of like Clementine or La Cucaracha, something catchy, but the lyrics...
The lyrics are everything.
They're a vivid, visceral picture of a golden future. Rings shall vanish from our noses and the harness from our back. Cruel whips no more shall crack. It's a promise of dignity, and the sources say even the stupidest animals picked it up instantly.
It's just fascinating how quickly that unifying vision has to be translated into rigid political doctrine, and you can see the first vulnerability right there.
You can, because Old Major dies just 3 nights later, and that power vacuum is immediately filled by the ones everyone agrees are the cleverest.
The pigs.
The pigs. They take his teachings and synthesize them into the system they call animalism.
Yeah.
So that initial unity is there, but the structure of future leadership, this idea of a naturally superior class, is already set in stone from the very beginning.
Okay, so that brings us to phase I, the ideology and the actual insurrection. We meet the pig hierarchy, the ones who turn this dream into a a functional political system.
And it's really a triumvirate that defines the farm's entire future. First, you have Snowball. He's the intellectual, the revolutionary strategist, described as vivacious, quick in speech, highly inventive. He's all about organizing committees. He's the idea man.
And then there's Napoleon. He's the brute force, the political operator. A big, fierce-looking Berkshire boar. He's quiet, doesn't talk much in public, but he's known for getting his own way.
His focus is pure power.
And the third, who is maybe the most important piece of the puzzle, is Squealer.
Oh, absolutely. The most strategically important asset for Napoleon. He's the small, fat pig, a brilliant talker, so persuasive that the other animals say he could turn black into white.
He's the minister of propaganda.
Indispensable for justifying everything that's about to happen.
But even with all that brain power, animalism wasn't an easy sell at first, was it? There was some resistance.
A lot of resistance. You had the loyalists asking the really basic, pragmatic question, Mr. Jones feeds us. If he's gone, won't we starve?
Makes sense.
Then you had the cynics, asking about what happens after you die or if they still have to work. But the most telling resistance came from Molly, the vain, foolish white mare.
Right. She's the one who embodies that rejection of communal hardship for personal comfort. Her first questions are all about herself.
Will there still be sugar after the rebellion?
Yeah.
And shall I still be allowed to wear ribbons in my mane?
And Snowball immediately frames those things correctly as badges of slavery.
He does. He forces a choice between liberty and vanity. And at the same time, they have to deal with another counter-narrative, a religious one, from Moses the Tame Raven.
Sugar Candy Mountain.
Exactly. This animal heaven where it's Sunday 7 days a week, clover is in season all year, and lump sugar grows on hedges. A powerful distraction.
Because if you believe in a perfect afterlife, maybe you're less inclined to fight for a better life right now.
Precisely. The pigs struggle hard to debunk it. But in the end, the rebellion itself happens almost by accident. It's spontaneous.
It's on Midsummer's Eve. Jones gets drunk, forgets to feed them, and the starving animals they snap.
They break into the store shed. Jones and his men come out with whips, and that's the final straw. The animals, with this unified rage, they just fling themselves on their tormentors.
And they win. They expel Jones, his men, his wife, and Moses the Raven just kind of flaps after them.
The immediate aftermath is just pure symbolic triumph. They destroy everything that represents their oppression. Whips, nose wings, reins, castration knives, all of it goes into a huge bonfire.
And Boxer, a key moment, he willingly throws his straw hat on the fire. He recognizes it as a mark of the old life.
A very powerful image. And they pass this crucial, unanimous resolution about the farmhouse. It's to be preserved as a museum. No animal must ever live there.
A resolution that, as we know, will be one of the very first to fall.
Indeed. Then comes the renaming Manor Farm becomes Animal Farm, and the new Constitution.
The 7 Commandments.
The pigs, having taught themselves to read and write, paint them on the barn wall. And these 7 rules, they are the absolute core of the new republic. We should probably run through them because their corruption is the whole story.
Okay, so first, whatever goes upon 2 legs is an enemy.
Second, whatever goes upon 4 legs or has wings is a friend.
3, no animal shall wear clothes. 4, no animal shall sleep in a bed.
5, no animal shall drink alcohol. 6, no animal shall kill any other animal.
And the big one, number 7, all animals are equal.
It's a perfect political constitution on paper. Absolute equality, absolute separation from the ways of the oppressor. But, and this is just the most chilling detail, the very first seed of corruption is planted literally seconds after the law is established. The milk? The cows haven't been milked in 24 hours, so there are 5 buckets of frothing milk. Napoleon steps in front of them and uses this classic diversion. He says, "Never mind the milk, comrades. The harvest is more important."
And he sends them all off to work.
And when they come back that evening, the milk is gone.
What's so fascinating is how it happens. It's not force, it's not fear, not yet. It's just intentional deceit and diversion.
Yeah.
They claim a resource in secret.
It's the first breach of equality, and it's done covertly. It subtly creates 2 tiers of citizens, the animals who work and the pigs who manage, divert, and consume. And because everyone's attention was on the harvest, this urgent collective task, nobody stopped to question it.
And that brings us right into phase 2, the labor, the governance, and the first real schisms. And to be fair, the initial period is genuinely a golden age.
It really is. The sources confirm the harvest was the biggest they'd ever had. They finish it 2 days faster than Jones and his men ever did.
And the reason is pure motivation. They're happy because they're working for themselves. Every mouthful of food is a pleasure.
And at the heart of all that success is Boxer, the horse. He embodies this selfless, dedicated working class. His dedication is almost superhuman. He seems to do the work of 3 horses.
And he adopts that famous, tragic motto, I will work harder.
He even arranges to get up a half hour earlier than everyone else for volunteer work. He is the engine of the farm.
But if you contrast him with the shirkers,
Yeah.
like Molly, who's always oversleeping, or the cat who just vanishes during work and reappears for meals.
Or Benjamin the donkey, the ultimate cynic. He just says donkeys live a long time. He refuses to get invested in any of it, believing that one tyranny just replaces another.
So the governance starts to take shape with these Sunday ceremonies. They hoist the flag, they have the meeting.
Where the pigs propose all the resolutions and everyone else just votes. So you can already see the oligarchy forming. And the tension between Snowball and Napoleon just intensifies immediately. They disagree on everything.
It's the intellectual versus the pragmatist.
Exactly. Snowball is busy organizing his animal committees. You know, the Egg Production Committee, the Clean Tails League. Most of which fail, by the way. It's idealism not quite meeting reality.
And at the same time, this educational gap is becoming a huge problem. The pigs can read and write perfectly. The dogs can sort of read. But Boxer, the most loyal animal on the farm, can't get past the letter D.
This literacy gap is the structural weakness of the whole republic. Because the stupider animals couldn't memorize all 7 commandments, Snowball has to reduce the entire legal system down to one simple, catchy maxim.
4 legs good, 2 legs bad.
Which is necessary for compliance, but just devastating for any kind of complex thought. It replaces law with a chant.
And all the while, Napoleon is ignoring the committees and the literacy programs. He's playing a much longer game.
A much longer game. He takes the 9 puppies from Jessie and Bluebell and secludes them in a loft to raise them privately. He says the education of the young is what matters most.
But it's not education, it's indoctrination. It's the creation of a private army.
His future apparatus of violence. And that investment pays off almost immediately when Squealer has to justify the pigs taking all the milk and the windfall apples for themselves.
This is the first major propaganda test.
And Squealer passes with flying colors. He argues it's a sacrifice, not a privilege. He claims they don't even like milk and apples.
But they're brain workers.
They're brain workers. The whole management of the farm depends on their health. Without these things, their brains would fail. It's framing indulgence as a vital public service.
But the real genius, the rhetorical move they'll use for years, is the threat.
The existential threat. Squealer says, do you know what would happen if we pigs failed in our duty? Jones would come back.
And that's it. That's the hammer.
It's the hammer used to crush every single question about privilege from then on. The fear of the old regime is the ultimate tool of control, and the animals buy it instantly.
That fear, meanwhile, is spreading to the outside world. The pigeons are carrying the news of the rebellion and the song Beasts of England to all the neighboring farms.
And the human farmers, Mr. Pilkington and Mr. Frederick, they're normally rivals, but they unite in their fear of this animal revolution.
So they start their own propaganda campaign. They spread stories that the animals on Animal Farm are practicing cannibalism, starving, torturing each other.
All the wickedness that comes from defying the natural order, which of course leads to the inevitable, the attempts to recapture the farm.
The Battle of the Cowshed.
And Snowball, having studied an old book on Julius Caesar's campaigns, he's the commander. It's a planned, sophisticated military operation.
He uses skirmishes, a feigned retreat.
To lure the humans into a decisive ambush right in the farmyard. It's brilliant strategy.
And it works. But there are casualties. Jones fires his gun, wounds Snowball, kills a sheep, and then Boxer.
Boxer delivers this terrifying blow with his iron-shod hoof, and a stable lad is stretched lifeless on the ground.
And this is where you see that huge difference in mindset between the idealist and the political operator.
It's stark. Boxer's reaction is pure sorrow. I had no wish to take life, not even human life, he says, with tears in his eyes.
But Snowball's response is just ice cold.
No sentimentality, comrade. War is war. The only good human being is a dead one. He understands that the revolution requires dehumanization to justify its violence.
So after this victory, the pigs immediately institutionalize their military success. They create decorations. Animal hero, first class for Snowball and Boxer. Animal hero, second class for the dead sheep.
Right. And they set up Jones's gun at the flagpole to be fired twice a year. The message is clear. The pigs are now the military and intellectual leaders. Their dominance is total.
And this sets the stage for Phase 3, The coup, the purge, and the complete rewriting of history, the internal tensions are about to just explode.
But before the big explosion, you have this quiet failure of ideology with Molly's defection. She just can't handle it.
She chooses the comforts of slavery over the hardship of freedom. Clover finds sugar and ribbons hidden in her stall.
And then she's just gone. Spotted on the other side of Willingdon, being petted by a human, wearing a ribbon she's never mentioned again, erased from the narrative.
Her defection is almost a prelude to the main event, the windmill debate. This is the critical schism.
It is. Snowball, the visionary, he sees the windmill as the key to a future of luxury. Electricity, machinery, a 3-day work week.
He's poring over books like Electricity for Beginners.
And Napoleon, the opportunist, he frames it all as a utopian distraction. He argues for immediate food production, the full manger, and to show his contempt, he literally urinates on Snowball's plans.
The showdown comes at the Sunday meeting. Snowball gives this glowing, eloquent speech, and he wins the animals over. But just before they can vote,
Napoleon plays his hand. He lets out this high-pitched whimper, and the 9 enormous, fierce dogs he'd been raising in secret burst in.
and they're wearing brass-studded collars, a symbol of the very human cruelty they were supposed to be fighting against.
This is the coup d'etat. The dogs chase Snowball violently off the farm. He escapes through a hedge and is never seen again. The animals are just silent and terrified.
And the democracy is abolished on the spot. Napoleon announces the Sunday meetings are over. All decisions will now be made by a special committee of pigs with him in charge.
A few of the younger pigs try to protest, but they're immediately silenced by the growls of the dogs.
And just as importantly by the sheep, who start bleating 4 legs good, 2 legs bad, over and over for a quarter of an hour.
It's the perfect demonstration of how a simple, anti-intellectual slogan can be used to just shout down dissent.
The speed of this is shocking. And Boxer, who is so loyal, he just submits. He adds a new motto to his old one.
Napoleon is always right. The revolution's loyal muscle now pledges unconditional obedience to the tyrant who just overthrew their government.
Then Squealer launches the re-education campaign. He has to justify this violence. He introduces the concept of tactics.
This is pure rhetorical genius. Squealer claims Napoleon only seemed to oppose the windmill. It was a maneuver, a tactic to get rid of the dangerous criminal, Snowball. He says the plans were Napoleon's all along.
He's basically telling them, you're not smart enough to understand the leader's strategy.
Tactics, comrades, tactics. It validates their confusion by appealing to a higher, mysterious level of thinking that only the leadership has access to.
And with Snowball gone, the erosion of the commandments starts immediately. The first to go is the rule against trade and money.
Right. Napoleon announces they'll start trading with neighboring farms through a human solicitor named Mr. Whymper. It's necessary for the windmill, which is now Napoleon's project, of course.
When the animals feel that vague uneasiness, that sense that this is wrong, Squealer steps in.
And this is the next level of historical revisionism. He just flatly denies the rule ever existed. He says it was a lie circulated by Snowball.
And he challenges their memory directly. Have you any record of such a resolution? Is it written down anywhere?
And because only the commandments were written down and their collective memory is already fragile, they yield. They assume they must have been mistaken. The destruction of the historical record is key.
Then comes the physical corruption. The pigs move into the farmhouse and start sleeping in the beds.
Clover, who still trusts the law, she gets Muriel the goat to read the 4th commandment on the wall.
And this is where the revision becomes literally visible.
The altered text. No animal shall sleep in a bed with sheets.
The qualifier has been added.
And Squealer is right by to explain it away. A bed is just a place to sleep, but sheets are a human invention. The pigs are sleeping between blankets, which is necessary for their brain work.
And then the checkmate.
Surely none of you wishes to see Jones back. And that ends the discussion.
Every time. And then the first big disaster. A storm destroys the half-built windmill.
A natural catastrophe. But Napoleon immediately turns it into a political weapon. He needs a scapegoat. Snowball, he roars, "Snowball has done this thing in sheer malignity," and he pronounces the death sentence. This creates a permanent external enemy who can be blamed for every single failure from now on.
The hardship gets worse. The winter is brutal, rations are cut, potatoes fail. Starvation is a real threat. But Napoleon has to maintain the illusion of success to the outside world.
So he uses Mr. Whymper. He has the empty food bins filled with sand and then covered with the last of the grain on top. Whymper is fooled and reports to the human world that there are no food shortages on Animal Farm.
The truth of their suffering becomes a state secret.
And this shortage leads directly to the hen rebellion. Napoleon demands they surrender 400 eggs a week to be sold for grain. The hens rebel, they fly up to the rafters and lay their eggs so they smash on the floor.
It's an act of desperate protest.
And Napoleon's response is swift and ruthless. He cuts off their rations entirely. 9 hens starve to death. Their deaths are reported as being from coccidiosis. The message is clear. Even passive resistance will be met with death.
All the while, Snowball is becoming this invisible boogeyman, blamed for everything from broken windows to mislaid keys. This paranoia culminates in the Reign of Terror.
The ultimate revision of history. Squealer announces that Snowball wasn't just a traitor now. He was Jones's secret agent from the very beginning.
He claims they've just discovered documents that prove it.
And Boxer, relying on his own honest memory, is confused. He says, "I do not believe that. I saw him fight bravely at the Battle of the Cowshed."
This is a direct challenge to the official narrative.
And Squealer's response is terrifying. He says, "Our leader, Comrade Napoleon, has stated categorically that Snowball was Jones's agent from the very beginning."
And Boxer just crumbles.
Instantly. That is different. If Comrade Napoleon says it, it must be right. Loyalty completely replaces memory. Critical thought collapses in the face of authority.
And this paves the way for the purge.
Napoleon assembles all the animals. The dogs drag out the 4 pigs who had protested earlier, and they confess.
They confess to working with Snowball, and they're slaughtered on the spot.
And then it's a cascade of terror. Hens confess to being incited by Snowball in dreams. A goose confesses to stealing corn. Sheep confess to murdering a ram. They are all slain. The air is heavy with the smell of blood, a smell they'd forgotten since Jones.
This isn't just about eliminating enemies. It's about terrifying the loyal.
Absolutely. Clover watches this pile of corpses grow, and she realizes this terror is not what they fought for, but her only solution is to remain loyal because Jones might come back. And Boxer. He commits to getting up a full hour earlier.
Even in the face of state-sponsored murder, their greatest fear is still the external tyrant they already defeated.
And the ideological cover for the slaughter comes immediately. The animals remember the 6th commandment. No animal shall kill any other animal.
So Muriel reads it again from the wall.
And the revised text now says, no animal shall kill any other animal. Without cause.
The 2 added words, conveniently forgotten by everyone.
But they provide the legalistic justification for the purge. The state defines the cause, so the killing is legal. And the final symbolic death of the revolution's hope is the abolition of their anthem.
Beasts of England.
Squealer says it's obsolete. The rebellion is completed, he says. The society they fought for has been established, so a new, less inspiring song is composed to replace it, systematically destroying the emotional memory of the original ideals.
And so we move into phase 3, the final degradation. Napoleon's cult of personality is now just completely entrenched.
He's barely ever seen in public. When he is, a black cockerel acts as his trumpeter. This isolation is classic totalitarian mythology.
He eats alone off the good china. He's given all these absurd titles like Father of all animals, Terror of mankind.
And Minimus the poet writes this worshipful poem, Comrade Napoleon, which is painted on the barn wall, crediting Napoleon for everything good that happens. He's not just a leader. He is the literal source of all prosperity.
Then the windmill is finally finished for a second time, only to lead to the second windmill fiasco. Napoleon sells the timber to Frederick.
After years of denouncing him, and the betrayal is immediate and crushing. Frederick pays with forged banknotes.
He gets the timber for free.
And Napoleon realizes an attack is coming. He looks at Pilkington, the other farmer, for help, and gets a note back that just says, "Serves you right."
So Frederick and his men attack in what becomes the Battle of the Windmill. And they don't just fight. They use blasting powder to blow up the finished windmill.
This act of pure destruction fuels the animals' rage. They countercharge and drive the men off, but many are severely wounded, especially Boxer.
And yet the pigs immediately spin this catastrophic defeat into a victory.
Squealer comes out, fires the gun, and celebrates their victory. When Boxer, bleeding and wounded, points out that the windmill is gone, Squealer just says they'll build 6 more. It's a propaganda victory snatched from a total disaster.
And right after this, the pigs find a case of whiskey in the cellar.
And they have a huge party. Loud singing, including the forbidden beasts of England. Napoleon is seen galloping around the yard wearing Mr. Jones's bowler hat.
Then Squealer announces Napoleon is dying, poisoned by Snowball, of course.
Of course. And Napoleon decrees that drinking alcohol is punishable by death. But then he recovers and buys books on brewing and distilling. The pasture that was meant for retired animals is plowed up and planted with barley.
Which leads to another revision of the law. Squealer is found late at night, stunned, next to a broken ladder and a pot of white paint. The fifth commandment now reads, "No animal shall drink alcohol to excess."
And excess is defined entirely by the pigs. Life gets harder. Rations are continually readjusted, which always means reduced, except for the pigs and dogs.
But Squealer has his lists of figures, always proving that life is better now than in Jones's day. More oats, longer lives, more straw.
And the animals whose memories are failing, they have no way to disprove it. New rules come in. Other animals have to stand aside for pigs on the path. Pigs start wearing green ribbons on Sundays.
They even institute the spontaneous demonstration every week, a mandatory celebration of their triumphs.
Then the farm is declared a republic, and Napoleon is unanimously elected president as the only candidate. And even Moses the Raven comes back, still talking about Sugar Candy Mountain. The pigs denounce it as lies, but they let him stay and give him a daily ration of beer.
They see the utility in a distracting spiritual belief for the masses.
Exactly. Which brings us to the ultimate tragedy. The breaking of the revolution's strongest, most loyal engine. Boxer.
He's failing. His health is gone, but he keeps working harder than ever. His only ambition is to see the windmill finish before he retires.
But while he's dragging stone, his lung gives out. He collapses. Napoleon, full of false sympathy, says he's arranging for Boxer to be taken to a hospital in Willingdon.
And this is the moment for Benjamin, the cynical donkey who has seen it all and said nothing.
He breaks his lifelong silence. When the van comes to take Boxer away, he gallops for the first time in his life, reading the lettering on the side of the van aloud.
In a moment of just pure, desperate horror.
The van says, "Alfred Simmons, horse slaughterer and glue boiler, Willingdon."
They've sold him to the knacker.
They've sold their most loyal, hard-working comrade for slaughter. Boxer tries to kick his way out, but his strength is gone. He's never seen again.
And Squealer's lie about it is it's a masterpiece of cruelty.
A tearful, elaborate story about being at Boxer's deathbed, fabricating his last words. "Forward, comrades! Long live Animal Farm! Napoleon is always right." Those were his very last words.
He claims the vet just hadn't had time to repaint the van he bought from the knacker.
And the final, boldest detail. The pigs used the money they got for selling Boxer to buy another case of whiskey for themselves. The ultimate sacrifice of the working class funds the ultimate vice of the ruling class.
And that leads us to the final phase, the complete transformation. Years pass. Most of the animals who remembered the rebellion are dead.
Boxer is forgotten. Snowball is forgotten. The idea of retirement has been dropped. The windmill is finished, but it's used for milling corn, for profit, not for electricity or luxury.
Napoleon now preaches that the truest happiness lies in working hard and living frugally.
For everyone but the pigs and dogs, of course, who are now very fat. Squealer is so obese he can barely see. And he explains they are engaged in enormous labors, burning files, reports, and memoranda, meaningless paperwork to justify their consumption.
And then, the final, shocking acts of humanization. Squealer takes the sheep away for a week to teach them a new song.
And when they return, the pigs emerge from the farmhouse, walking on their hind legs.
Awkwardly at first, then majestically. Napoleon comes out last, carrying a whip in his trotter.
The ultimate symbol of oppression, now wielded by the leader of the revolution. And in that critical moment, the sheep burst out with their new maxim.
4 legs good, 2 legs better.
The final victory of the slogan over ideology, and when Clover and Benjamin go to the barn wall, the 7 commandments are gone. Erased.
Replaced by a single, chilling statement.
All animals are equal, but some animals are more equal than others.
And that's it. The pigs can come in. They wear clothes, install a telephone, read newspapers.
The transformation is complete when they invite the neighboring human farmers for a tour. And the farmers admire the discipline and orderliness, noting that the lower animals on Animal Farm do more work for less food than any animals in the county.
Pilkington gives a toast, and he says something that just perfectly aligns them. If you have your lower animals to contend with, he says, we have our lower classes.
The distinction is gone, and Napoleon confirms it. He abolishes the title comrade. He buries old Major's skull. He takes the hoof and horn off the flag. And his final announcement.
The farm is renamed. Back to the Manor Farm.
The circle is complete. And that last image of the animals looking through the window as the pigs and men play cards.
And they can't tell the difference. They look from pig to man and from man to pig, and they realize the faces are the same. The internal oppressor and the external oppressor are now indistinguishable.
So what we've really documented here is this precise step-by-step process, how collective revolutionary ideals get hijacked. The tools were consistent. Squealer's rhetorical manipulation, rewriting history, controlling information by literally changing the laws, and just raw fear.
And it worked because they systematically destroyed critical thought. They replaced these complex, difficult ideals with simple slogans. It's so much easier to chant 4 legs good, 2 legs better than it is to analyze the 7 commandments.
And that's why critical literacy and just engagement is so central to this. Benjamin, who could read but refused to get involved, or Clover, who struggled with the words, they allowed the physical evidence of their revolution to be erased right in front of them.
So when you're thinking about all this, maybe consider this final thought. The initial vision was about freedom from an external enemy, from Jones. And overthrowing him was, in the end, pretty easy. It took an afternoon.
But the internal corruption, the one born from blind loyalty, from propaganda, from self-deception, that took years to cultivate. So given that final image, you have to ask yourself, what source of tyranny is truly the hardest to overthrow? The external master like Jones, or the deep internal corruption that forces you to help build your own chains?
The internal tyranny seems infinitely more stable because it relies on the loyalty of the exploited.
It's harder to recognize, and by the time Benjamin breaks his silence and Clover finally sees that last commandment, it's already far too late. And that is the tragic, enduring lesson encoded in this deep dive.
A truly unsettling conclusion about the anatomy of power. Thank you for walking us through the rise and fall of Animal Farm.